like, honestly, I've given up on the idea, I think, of Winds of Winter being announced anytime soon, especially since he's probably just as depressed as we are. So I just haven't been checking because I'm like, you know what? I'm not getting my hopes up for this anymore. I'm going to be realistic from now on and just think that whatever. When it happens, it happens. I'm sure everybody will be talking about it. So,
yeah. Certainly not holding my breath anymore.
No, I used to check his Not a Blog every single day, especially when I thought that Worldcon was going to be the announcement. Yeah. I was really excited and I would check Not a Blog like 3-4 times a day. And then I just decided, you know what? Since it didn't happen, why do I keep checking? Yeah. Oh, and I started checking it again very frequently when he was talking smack about House of the Dragon because I was interested to hear his thoughts and his perspective. So
that's the only thing I want. Let's not get Winds of Winter. Let's get the rest of the hot D blogs.
No, do not put that out into the universe, George. If you're watching, no. We want Winds of Winter. We do not want any more smack talking.
Look, just don't break your contract.
Yeah.
Smack talk later. Smack talk after Winds of Winter.
Yeah, Haley, I agree. I live in the world where Winds is coming soon because it's like it'll be here or it won't be, you know.
It'll get here when it gets here.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, I guess it doesn't.
Karen says she got kicked.
I know. I invited her again.
I mean, I guess for me, because I'm so fucking certain of my own ending, at least for like Viserion, that I'm like, whatever. If we don't get it, he can't take it away from me.
I thought we were talking about our own mortality.
Oh, well, that too.
Yeah, I like, especially with our recent tandem read, which I did, that was my second tandem read. And I am convinced now more than ever that Daario is Euron. You can't tell me that he's not. They're never in two different places at once. You know,
they're never in the same place at once. Is that what you mean?
I'm sorry. Yeah, they're never like when like, for example, when Euron is at the Kingsmoot, Daario is off making treaties for Daenerys and negotiations, but mysteriously he's gone for an extended period of time.
He's actually at the Kingsmoot.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm sorry, but you have stuff like Dany. Like, why is Dany sitting there thinking, where is Daario? Why is he so late? And she's asking everybody, like, why has he been gone this long? This is weird, right? It's weird. And I'm like, yes, Dany, it is weird. It is weird.
You know, there's that theory that Euron is the woman that's with Victarion, and that's how he's, like, keeping an eye on him, right? So, like, people already agree that the glamoring type magic is something that he can do. And I think it would be much more interesting for him to be spying on Daenerys than Victarion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, there's a lot of somebody is secretly this person theory, which I think people unfairly like discard those theories because they do come from somewhere. I mean, we've had at least I'm gonna fail, but I know we've had at least one character where like literally they were introduced as a different name and then revealed later, he's secretly Barristan.
I mean, like, yeah, so there's that, and then there's like the fake hound, right, in the Riverlands.
Yes, people talking about the hound when it's actually, you know, both Rorge and Lem.
Yeah.
Depending on when they had the helmet.
I've seen people ask George many times whenever he used to do panels. I know he hasn't done that in a while because he gets pressured about Winds of Winter. But a lot of people have asked him about Daario, like, what is the point to this character? Why is Daenerys so obsessed with this mediocre man? And he's like, he literally looks at them and he kind of smiles and he's like, there's more to Daario than there appears to be. And those are his words, not mine. And he kind of just like, I mean, I can see, that there's something going on there that's definitely sinister. And coming from Euron's perspective, I could see him doing that because he's so confident and he's so sure when speaking to Victarion that Dany will be his wife. Why is he so certain, especially telling the brother who he knows is against him? Like, he's fully aware that Victarion hates him.
Right.
So why is he so sure that he's going to get Dany. Maybe because he's already glamored her into falling in love with him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really into Dario as Euron. And I mean, for me, at a minimum, they're working together. Mm-hmm. At a minimum.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would not have gotten that locket if, like, I dedicated myself in that locket. Although I am wearing sea smoke today because he went so well with my outfit.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Mailing all your packages. Well, okay, Taryn, I need a box for yours. I have yours right here, but I didn't have a box for it.
A box?
A box? Because you got your ornament.
Box. What's in the box?
An ornament. And some lockets.
What is that movie from? 12... 7?
7.
7?
7.
7, thanks.
7 Deadly Sins, 7. Did you see in the comments Winds of Winter will come out at the same time as Reputation TV?
We are counting on it.
Like, this is my theory, and I've told you guys about this in the last few lives, that George and Taylor are working together, that George loved the fact that Taylor likes to leave little Easter eggs, and so he was like, can you teach me? And now he's leaving his own Easter eggs, and they have conspired together to make a plan to release the announcements for both at the same time.
George and Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, I could see George being a Swiftie too. Like I can see.
We could have used the Winds of Winter on November 6th to get us through 4 years of dissecting to distract us from the real world. That would have been perfect. It would have been perfect. Because who cares about what's going on in the real world? I have the Winds of Winter, and we got to know what's going on with the long nights.
It's a good escape. Haley said, random question. Do you guys think that in the dance prologue, the part where Varamir feels like he's in a weirwood is leading us to Bran and Bloodraven? I just reread it, and it's a paragraph, but super detailed, and it must mean something. I always thought that was, like, confirming that the lore that, like, the weirwood trees hold the spirits of the dead. Isn't that a thing? Or is it just the spirits of the children of the forest?
I think it's the children of the forest because they are one with, I mean,
that's really matters.
Whoever gets added.
The trees, and so it's like their collection of lost souls that are just have been slaughtered throughout the centuries.
It's whoever gets added. So, like, the children are the people who are doing it, but at the same time, there's a lot of Northerners that sacrifice themselves in front of trees in the same.
Okay, yeah.
So I feel like that's gonna
because he's a ward,
but
right?
To answer the question, that whole chapter is all about what is going on with the magic, because all the things in there are like suspect to come back. Like there's a part where Varamir is flying through the air, which I'm pretty sure is, you ask me, that's set up for time traveling Bran. Because that's what Bran is doing. He's in the air, in between everything.
So ominous.
Like he doesn't need to be in a tree or
he's just around.
Or
he's in the molecules.
When he's doing with that where he's overlooking like all the people and he's like flashing forward and back and he's floating above it, watching it, right?
Yes. Right, Eric? Hello. This time traveling Bran territory.
Yes, and then I've taken the what am I trying to say? Like the scene with, like his future character is gonna do something similar, not something similar. It's going to be similar to like the chapter when he was pushed. Like I think that was all like him climbing, him looking down. People can't see him. He like there's like a really like tense moment where he like there's like one line by itself that's like he looked into the window, so it's like a whole like he's climbing, he's hanging upside down, so I think he's gonna be in the air, like he's going to warg essentially like everything.
Everything. I really like the idea of him like warging molecules. Just like he is the air you breathe. That's so creepy.
I mean, I get it. I get the point of it, but that's just so much to wrap your head around for the ending of a book.
I love it. Well, it's like Erica's always saying, like George also does a lot of, he's very sci-fi-y as well. Yeah. And like, there's not a lot of difference between fantasy and sci-fi. So it's whether it's technology or magic, basically.
Haley, Hagen told Varamir or weren't meant to leave the earth. He's talking about, like,
Flying.
metaphorically, yes, there's the flight thing, which is like probably what George is talking about is telepathy. But like Hagen was also talking like very directly about like just being in a bird and like losing track of who you are because you can fly, which Bran is in a bunch of birds right now.
Yeah. So much ominous warning for Bran and Jon in that chapter, in that prologue.
Yes, and then Bran breaks a rule when he meets up with Varamir later.
Well, I mean,
he's
breaking multiple rules right now. I think the Blood Raven's intending him to break all the rules.
But like specifically when he meets the one-eyed wolf later, like that's the time when it's like that. He doesn't like George doesn't tell us, but he told us in the prologue, like, you're not supposed to eat meat as an animal. And look at what he did.
Yeah, man meat. You're not supposed to eat man meat.
Yeah. And here he goes.
And then, okay, so it's you're not supposed to go into a human. You're not supposed to eat man meat as an animal. And then you're not supposed to, like, rut as an animal, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's the word.
Well, I mean, it is for animals and not, to not get flagged. But
yeah.
Because, like, I've seen people make, like, weird well, I guess... Okay, because you've heard the theory that he'll warg into Hodor and S.A. Mira. Have you heard that?
Okay.
What? Like, no,
I
for real,
haven't
this is
heard
like
that,
a thing.
Okay.
But that's how he's going to break that rule. I always assumed it would be that, like, I don't know, as a wolf, he had sex with another wolf. Like, I never thought, like... But I guess because he is warging, the point is... It's not that it's animal, it's that you shouldn't be doing that activity in something else's body.
Yeah, it's a violation.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
But like, why do people have to make it that? Like, how is that a theory? I don't know. I hate it here sometimes. It's like, I mean, I guess it does, that would work.
Well, what I don't like about it is that, like, it's what is it? It's torch. It's like
SA porn. Like, and as a plot device,
it's gratuitous. It's gratuitous. There's no narrative meaning really to it other than him breaking the rule. So it's like it's not very creative.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's like, what wouldn't that be just fucked up?
I think it would be more like, I mean, it's fucked up anyway. You dice it, like the activity of it, because he's like a 9-year-old. But like,
yeah.
I feel like it would be kind of like make more sense for it to be like, it's one of those moments where he's kind of lost in summer, like he starts thinking like a wolf, and it's like the wolf takes
like
over.
When they talk about how you start, like if you stay in the wolf too long, you start to become them and start to lose yourself. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, here we go. He wargs the dragon, and that's how we find out about dragon fertility.
Shut up. I can't handle that, Eric.
Yeah.
We will all just sink into one as Chelsea's mind just gets blown, and we feel it through the ripples.
I start crying hysterically.
Here's a topic. What are our hot takes? I guess the Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon.
I knew somebody had said something about Game of Thrones season 8 not being that bad. In all honesty, especially in this group, I think it's safe to say, like, Game of Thrones for me started falling off in season 2 when I started noticing the vast differences, not just in Daenerys' character, but in everything that they were starting to change. And then I think it was most definitely in season 5 where I was very confused. Season 5 had the most amount of content that they could have used to make it as book accurate as possible, and they just flew off the rails with it. For me, Game of Thrones I don't even watch the show anymore. It does nothing for me.
For me, it was like, I loved the first season. The second season made no sense to me because by that point I had read the books. And then the third season, like, got me again. The third season is my favorite.
Oh yeah. Like, I think seasons 1 through 4 for me were really good. I enjoyed them. I couldn't help but pick and choose which things that they changed. But overall, they were really good. And then season 5 came out and it completely fell off.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything that happens in 5 that I really liked? I don't think so.
No. And the only canon thing that they included in season 5 was Cersei's walk of shame, which is conveniently enough a moment when a woman is nude. So.
Yeah, they even wrote, the whole hard home thing for John to do.
That's true. He doesn't go.
But that was the big thing in season 5. I remember season 5 was like, we were all hopeful that was just, we were going to look back at it and be like, okay, bad pussy. That's just going to be the bad season.
That was a stinker, yeah.
We stumbled a little bit, but let's get back on track. And I think for me, like season 6, like was better. But now that I look at it, it's like, no, it got worse. I was just Lulu.
I'll never understand why people go so hard for Battle of the Bastards, because I mean, visually there were some cool moments, but the episode in and of itself fell very short.
Here's what I will give the Battle of the Bastards. It gave me fucking anxiety. Like the first time I watched it, I couldn't breathe.
Yeah. No. Like visually it was very stimulating. But other than that, for me, it just fell short of anything at all. And in fact, just seeing Taryn watching Lord of the Rings in the background, I mean, nothing for me, I think, is going to ever beat the Battle of Helm's Deep. That was just the most iconic battle scene in media in all of existence. It's never been outdone. And Battle of the Bastards is no exception. They didn't come close.
I still think about this all the time. Taryn, like, perfectly encapsulating like how we feel about season 8. Like, let's say something positive. What's your favorite part of season 8? Mine is this conspicuous part of season 7, the loot train.
I'm never going to live that down.
The loot train battle. And I was like, that's a good one, Taryn. Because it's true. Like, even the big shit in season 8 sucked.
Yeah, I mean, Sansa, Haley pointed it out, like Sansa being all secretive and weird with Jon. I mean, yes, in the books, it's pretty well established that Sansa and Jon did not get along, and she viewed him in a very similar way that Catelyn did. Maybe not as harshly, but she certainly did not see him as a brother. But I also, if they do reunite, I don't see her acting that way.
But also, Haley, it was just stupid because, like, everybody the Boltons would have known that the Vale was moving. Like, horses make a lot of noise when you got a whole army of them.
Yeah, that's true.
They would have heard these fucking horses coming. They're not gonna be able to do the Lord of the Rings thing.
Just narratively speaking, I don't know how Sansa and Jon are going to, like, if they do see each other again, I don't know what under circumstances it would be in, just because Jon's path and Sansa's path are going in 2 entirely different directions.
I think Sansa's headed for Harrenhal. So it's like I think everybody's gonna have to meet up there, when the long night happens.
Yeah. I mean,
because it's the only place big enough.
I think it would be really cool to see Sansa get the chance to, kind of rectify things with Jon, the chance that Kat was never going to get. But, I mean, we'll see what happens. It definitely won't be anything like the show at all. This book Sansa and TV Sansa could not be any more different.
Yeah.
Elaine Stone is definitely in a, like, I feel like Sansa, they were like, oh, let's make her goth and then she'll look hardcore. No. Elaine Stone is a whole different beast.
She killed the girl so the woman could live.
I think so.
Juan, I don't think so. I don't think Book Sansa will marry Aegon.
No. I don't think Book Sansa is going to, I think she's romanticized being with a man for so long. I don't think that that's her destiny. And I think she will realize that at some point, that that's not something she wanted after all. So I think it's going to be a completely different story for her.
My favorite part of season 8 was Podrick singing Jenny of Old Stones.
Oh, that was good. That was really good. Oh, and Jamie knighting Bran was pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, I don't like it because I feel like Jamie's whole, and not Jamie, but Brienne's whole arc is kind of like distancing her from that idea of like knighthood.
Yes. Oh my God.
So in the books, I do think so in the books. I just think that visually in the show it was good.
It's just such like, for me, it's candy. It's like it's spectacle. It's like the easiest thing that the show could have done in one of the stupidest, biggest waste of time episodes. I fucking hate that episode so much, and it is even worse because making that scene between Jamie and Brienne, like it is insulting. Like it is straight up insulting to not just Brienne's story, but to like the central like gender themes that are going on in A Song of Ice and Fire. They're just wadded up and thrown out and like replaced with this sappy ass fucking
for 8th grade
scene.
book reports, Eric.
I hate that episode so fucking much. If we ever want to make content, let's just watch that episode and I can shit talk it.
The show the show is so completely separate from the books, and especially like it really started for the main part in season 5 where it just completely broke off from the books entirely. I mean, I was seeing them break off when they changed Rob's storyline and Catelyn's, like that whole thing was completely changed. And I don't understand why. Because I mean, maybe they thought that Jane Westerling wasn't important to the story. I disagree. I think that her story is going to be important. I think that Rob's story, like Rob's part in it, was small. But I think that Jane's story and Lady Stoneheart's story are going to be far more important. And that the things that happen with that are going to be like a lot more center focus. So I hated how they changed that. And I hated that they changed Catelyn and did no Lady Stoneheart. I just think from that point, I knew that the show was going off the rails. And then in season 5, it was confirmed that they were done. Like, that goose was cooked.
Bronn getting Highgarden is so wild. Yes, absolutely. Because, like,
being the master of coin.
Succession is, like, a huge fucking deal and, like, a central conflict in a lot of the plots in A Song of Ice. Like, there's an open question of, like, what the fuck is Paxter Redwine going to do? Because he has two large twin sons. What is he going to do with his large sons? They could have made like half a season arc out of figuring out who was going to get Highgarden. There could have been politics there, but they're just going to like, in what fucking world are the rest of the Reach houses just going to be like, all right, well, I guess he's Lord Paramount. This guy we don't even know.
Jack off. Yeah.
You know, we also have armies too. Also, does the army that's stationed in Highgarden right now, are they going to listen to him?
No, because they got obliterated, remember?
Right. Yeah, okay. That's right. I forget.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot.
Yeah, but the Florents, I guess they didn't really, because they barely touched on that. Like, do you even know that Selyse is a Florent, really?
Well, if all the Tyrells died, like, that's the thing, that's central to, like, the Paxter Redwine, like, scheming theory. Mace's sister is married to Paxter Redwine, so Highgarden would go to her if all the Tyrells went, and the Redwines would definitely want Highgarden. So come on.
I just think that for me, it just none of it narratively made any sense whatsoever, and like the center focus ultimately ended up being the throne and King's Landing in Westeros, and that for me just was absolutely ridiculous. This is why people always wonder why I'm pushing so hard for Cersei, but that's because narratively, I feel that we are going to see the burning of King's Landing fairly quickly in Winds of Winter. I don't think that King's Landing has much more time in existence because when you feel like all of the pieces that George left and put together, Cersei is on her last marble, and that's done. I mean, we see that in the epilogue of Dance, where she, like, I need to go back and figure out what it is that she says, because I don't really understand why it disturbed Kevin so much. It's something about women being in their place. And Kevin, like, pauses, and he's like, what? And she repeats herself, and he's like, oh, she's really lost it. And then for him to be killed in the way that he is, and have it confirmed for her that Tyrion is in fact in the walls. He's in King's Landing. He's hiding everywhere. He's plotting against her. The Tyrells are helping him. And then to find out that also on top of all of this, Jon Con and Aegon are coming and the walls are closing in around her. The only choice that she has left is the choice that George has already shown you is in her mind. I hate King's Landing. I hate the people. They suck. This whole place is BS. I want it gone. I want to burn it down so I can build my castle by the river. And not only that, but the worst thing you can do to a narcissist is show them who they really are. And Cersei has had to see herself now after the walk of shame as she really is. She realizes, oh, I'm not that beautiful anymore. Oh, my body is starting to sag after childbirth. It's not what it was. I am not who I was. And people have forced her to look at that. And beauty, because Cersei is so misogynistic, means everything to her. So to have that smacked in her face on top of everything else, like King's Landing is cooked. I mean, and that is the beauty of it, because George is literally taking out the one thing that D&D focused so much on. It's going to be gone. And the irony of it all is the Sept, the place that she burns in the show, is the one place that is not going to burn in the book because the cachets of wildfire were removed from it. So everything else will burn. The Sept of Baelor will literally be the only thing left standing.
That's funny.
Haley, I don't think the Tarleys would ever side with Cersei either. Yes,
no, Tarley is one of the most misogynistic characters in the series.
Well, when there's Aegon, yes, but I do think Kevin was actually correct. If she had put Randall in charge early enough, like he would have been loyal to her. But it's just like now there's an option. Now there's Aegon, so it's like of course he's going to side with Aegon.
We are going to see,
I don't know,
a large amount of people are going to back young Griff, and it's because he's going to have everything that he needs to look like a king. And his final piece, the final piece of the puzzle, is Rhaegal. And once he acquires Rhaegal, there's literally going to be, once they form that bond, everyone's going to see him as that beacon, that Targaryen king that everyone has been waiting for. And again, the irony of Rhaegal being green.
There's this one part of the fan fiction that I really want to come true. It's during the Battle of Steel. It's when they reveal that yes, they do. The Fat Man did find Aegon's crown, so he's got it on his head, and he's riding this giant. And he's riding this giant elephant. He's riding this giant elephant that's been rubbed down with charcoal dust, and he's got sharpened. What's it called? Sharpened tusks with blood painted on them. Huge Targaryen banner, and it's Balerion, the black elephant.
It's young Griff that has that?
I really want the Baleriphant.
This is young Griff that has it?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is part of the elephants that they're going to bring in.
He's like, this is my makeshift dragon.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's a cool idea.
Kelsey already noticed it. I think that young Griff is wearing the crown. I just don't think he realizes it. Those 3 large rubies that he's wearing, I think are from Aegon's crown.
I'm just saying.
I mean, they're described a little too perfectly as the exact same. Like,
okay, they whitewashed the hell out of Tyrion. He hates Cersei and wouldn't cry for her. Yes. In fact, he says that the only thing he'll ask of Daenerys is that he gets to essay Sansa. Yeah, like, yeah, whitewashed. That's putting it mildly.
Like, he even considers, even though he loves the children, he even considers the possibility of taking them out just to hurt Cersei. So, particularly Tommen.
They didn't resurrect Lady Stoneheart because they said they thought it would take away from Jon. And I know what they mean, take away from Jon. They mean like take away from the punch of him coming back to life. They didn't want to have too many characters coming back to life. I think that's a lie. I think the real reason was because it does what it's supposed to do, which is establishes that people do not come back to life the same. And that has ramifications that are very negative for Jon post-resurrection. That is why they removed Lady Stoneheart.
they kept Beric around entirely too long. Like Beric Dondarrion stayed in the story entirely too long in the show. His story is meant to end with Catelyn, and that's where his final life is given, and that's the entire point. Is that the way Catelyn is resurrected and the way Jon will be resurrected are entirely different things. But at the same time, you're also seeing the similarities and how they died and how that's going, like how that's affected Catelyn and how it's ultimately going to affect Jon.
And with Beric, in the show, they made, like, every time he was brought back, he was the same. Like, just the same demeanor, same just like mood, like nothing really changed.
And we see in the book, Beric tells Arya that no, he's very different. Like he loses the taste of food.
He can't remember things. Like
he can't remember things. He doesn't really eat anymore now. And
just with a new hot scar. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which was just like with Tyrion.
He does have a conversation with Arya, I believe, or this is a headcanon, that he loses a little pieces of himself every time he comes back, but literally nothing changes.
Right. Well, and then you don't see how he dies for Lady Stoneheart. Like, her not being there changes the entire Brotherhood of the Banner's storyline.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, you see that Beric had that vigilante, but also he wanted to do good. And whereas Lady Stoneheart has just taken it to anybody who is a Frey associated with the Lannisters, if she can get her hands on the Boltons, like they all have to die. And it doesn't matter if they're innocent. It doesn't matter if it's a child. It doesn't and you see that there's nothing left of Catelyn there because Catelyn would not be making these decisions. This is just rage.
Do you think Princess Rhaenys swarmed into Balerion the cat? She had first men blood from Aegon the Fifth's wife. I mean, that's fucking sad, but no, I don't think so. I think she just died very, very, very tragically.
I think anybody with the name Rhaenys seems to be doomed.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the Conquerors' names, all of them.
Yes.
They're like cursed. It's almost like you shouldn't be trying to replicate the three conquerors because the dragon has 3 heads is actually referring to one person. Oh, whoa.
And that Daenerys, her name has been used, I believe, 2 other times.
Yeah, she's the third. Loves those 3s.
And in both situations, they were obviously not cursed.
That's why it makes so much sense that Arya and Catelyn are the most similar. Yeah, it's so funny because, you know, Sansa looks like Catelyn, and so people are like, oh, Sansa's a lady, Catelyn's a lady. No, Sansa's all Ned Stark, and Ned Stark is all Aaron. And that's why Sansa is the way she is. And Arya is more pragmatic, much more like her mom. Because Ned had that fucking... Sansa has the rosy tinted glasses. That's all fucking Ned's fault. That's all Ned's fault.
I mean, and when you think about it, Ned had rose-tinted glasses.
That's what I'm saying. He literally just handed them to her, but like the girl version.
Yeah.
And then was like, God, why is she so naive? Oh, I don't know, Ned. I don't know. Maybe you led her into the lion's fucking den. Maybe that's why.
Oh, Ned.
Me thinking we were talking about Rhaenys the Conqueror. Yeah, she's Balerion the cat. It's actually Rhaenys. Yeah, Sansa's Ned, I will die on this hill. And I will also die on the hill that Ned is not like some embodiment of Stark men. Like, he grew up in the Vale. He was not the heir. That was Brandon. Brandon was a Stark. Ned is an Aaron Stark. As high as honor are literally the Aaron words. Fucking Ned lives by those fucking words. He says, winter is coming, but in the back of his mind, as high as honor.
If Dany did get a crown in the show, do we think that they would have made it book accurate or they would have changed it? I really don't think they cared. I think they knew pretty early on about where they were going to go with Daenerys' character, and then it was going to be completely different than what George did. They just changed everything about her, even from... I mean, as early as season 1, we see that her behavior and mannerisms are at least a little bit different than who she is in the books. And I don't think that it mattered to them to give her a crown, because I think that the direction they were going in was, oh, she's mad, oh, she's crazy, because she can't.
But to answer the question, no, I don't. If they had given her a crown, no, I don't think it would have been book accurate. Because
I think it would have been more like the Conqueror's crown. I don't think it would have been like the crown that we see her in, which is more the crown of a liberator.
I mean, I definitely think that it would have been a dragon, but I think it would have been like a lot simpler. Like, and I think people kind of miss the point. The reason that Dany's crown is so like large and heavy, like, it's a reminder, like, a crown is not supposed to rest easy on your head. Like, and she has the biggest and bulkiest crown of them all because hers is the greatest fucking burden. Like, and her crown embodies that. And it's funny because, like, her crown, the way that it's described in the book is gorgeous. The fan arts, like, most of them that exist are not actually book accurate representation.
No, not at all.
Lisa, welcome to our world.
The one that I used, the artwork that I used for the Scarlet Witch meme, that is actually the closest to how I've always envisioned her crown, with the large silver wings, and then obviously the dragons and the gold. Like, that's how I always pictured it. So that's probably one of my favorite fan art pieces of her crown.
Yeah, I mean, most of the fan art makes the entire crown gold. And I think it's because, like, the idea of silver and gold, like, people think that clashes, you know, because the wings are silver and then the coils are gold. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand that either, because, I mean, in Makar's crown, when people, do artwork of Makar's crown, it's always that gold circlet with the dark gray spikes. I mean, if it looks good on him, why can't she have her book accurate crown?
Yeah, that's a good point. They made her so selfish, like Dany, they made her so selfish, but not selfish enough to have a crown made while she's queen and Marine. But she's so like, I'm the queen, but she didn't have a fucking crown made. Okay.
That's honestly that.
And that crown was given to her by the Tourmaline Brotherhood. Like, come on. It was a gift. Like,
yeah, I agree. A Song of Ice and Fire is too big for a live action. Animation would have been literally the only way to go with this. I think it's too much. I think that the way George describes dragons, like Dany's dragons in the show look nothing. I mean, when they were little, they looked like her dragons, but as they got bigger, they became, I don't know. I think Drogon was the closest one that actually looked like his book version.
But even then, he's so boring looking. They're so boring looking.
They're so boring. They don't have personalities, whereas in the books, they have thoughts and emotions and feelings, and you can tell that these like creatures are so intelligent and there's so much going on in their heads. Whereas in the show, they're essentially just giant fire-breathing lizards with no thoughts or feelings whatsoever.
My biggest gripe about the show will always be the eggs. Taryn painted this so that it actually looked like a fucking golden egg. Okay? Because she painted over the tan fucking ugly ass egg that you buy from the show.
That's right. Lisa said it too. Their fire is supposed to be colorful, like different colors, depending on the colors that they like. It's just, they did everything so differently. And I understand there's only so much you can do with live action, but that's why I don't think A Song of Ice and Fire was ever meant to be live action. It's just too big. You can do a live action with something like A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, because there's no dragons. There's not a whole lot of that. There is magic,
but it's like isolated. It's kind of happening in a vacuum. The Duncan Egg tales, like they're individual novella. They're little stories. Like
the only magic that you really see is Bloodraven's magic, and that's just like the glamour. But that can easily be done in a live action show. Whereas A Song of Ice and Fire is very fantastical, very magical. It's just, even with House of the Dragon, and House of the Dragon did a much better job at giving the dragons personalities and different looks, but still you can see where they're struggling to give it that same fantastical feeling as you get in the books. I just don't think that can be achieved with the level of fantasy that Fire and Blood and the main series are in.
Oh, someone, Nessa says that she got her friend's Rhaegal egg signed by George. I would cry. Fucking sob.
That's
Ellie?
Amazing.
that's awesome.
Making Drogon.
No, glass candles that I'm aware of were never used in the show at all.
No,
D&D said it. They don't like magic. They didn't like any of those things, and they were determined to cut it all out, which is why they butchered the two most magical characters, Bran and Daenerys, and made it to where no one really liked them.
Hi, Farah. I'm going through. We're behind on the comments.
So,
hey, Farah.
Bran was consistently boring, and Daenerys, his character, was more about, oh, I'm a bad bitch, and then at the end, oh, I'm going to kill everybody.
When she says, all men must die, but we are not men, that is men writing feminism.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Lord Corvinus, you got to high five George. The closest I've been to George is I've been to his bookstore, and the closest as well, having something signed. So he like touched it. So that's like as close as I've gotten to George.
I would die to have a conversation with that man.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, give me 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Just 10.
Let me give you the rundown. Let me show you my tattoo. Let me give you the rundown. Tell me I'm right, and you can go. You're free to go.
You know, the kicker was whenever I went in with Hayden, because I was going to ask him a quick question, and then I was going to do the pose, you know? But my ass was just like so starstruck. I forgot to turn on the lightsaber, and I'm just like giddy. I'm just like, hi. When I walked away, I'm like, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Like, I was gonna ask
whatever.
him,
That's nice.
yeah. But he was like, I'm glad you're here. I'm just like, oh fucking A. Anyways, I was gonna ask him his watch order because it's always open for debate, like how you watch.
That's a good question.
How you watch Star Wars, and I just wanted Vader himself to tell me how he would watch Star Wars. He probably doesn't watch it because most actors don't watch their work more than just the premiere, So like, I just wanted to know. And then like, if he said prequels first, I was gonna rub it in Eric's face.
I think everybody probably has that person that they would get starstruck around. I have not met that person yet. When I have met actors from Game of Thrones that I wanted to meet and was excited to meet, I didn't get starstruck. I was just very comfortable because that wasn't the person that I was just going to lose it over. And they were all very nice. Like, I really enjoyed meeting Nikolai and also Ewan, who plays Ramsay Bolton. Like, they were great, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm so starstruck. I think I would get starstruck around George. I would be like,
oh, I like this question.
What to say?
Do you think Bloodraven knew Jon was going to die was a part of his plan? Yes and yes, because yeah. I'm very much of the mind that while yes, he is working with Bran as his pupil and maybe like has this evil plan to like take over Bran's body or whatever, that does not mean that he's not also dabbling with Jon, because I think that he thinks that Jon is Azor Ahai, because he obviously knows the truth about Jon's fire and ice, and all these stupid ass Targaryen men think it means one fucking thing, right? And they keep doing it over and over again. And so Jon dying is part of that plan because Jon being resurrected is part of that plan, and it's going to be perverse. Because Quaithe, while she knows that it's Dany, she presumably had little to nothing to do with her completing the prophecy. You can make the argument
I think it's because Shara, being who she is, knows that Dany has to be able to do this organically with little to no involvement with anyone else. Because Shara is, all-knowing, and that's why Bloodraven is her paramour and not the other way around.
Eric, who was the celebrity? He said, I've met that celebrity for me, and now I know why I never want to meet another celebrity again.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you would say George is a celebrity. To me, he is. Like, I mean,
yeah. I guess celebrity has like a certain connotation, but like a
famous person.
He would be the famous person that I would get around, that I would probably become starstruck. I wouldn't want to get starstruck because I have so many questions, but I would probably get in front of him and just freeze, just not know what to say.
Okay. Paul Thomas Anderson, that makes sense.
I've
never heard. While he's like very talented, Paul Thomas Anderson, as a human being, I've never heard good things about him.
Farrah, I am watching Lord of the Rings, and I also have a new shirt. It's
yes,
Bradador. That Sauron's power with the eye.
I think it just depends on who you meet, because the celebrities that I've met have been really, really nice. Just, I mean, and that maybe that's the difference between, like, I don't know, maybe it's an American versus European thing, because I've only ever met European celebrities, but I've had nothing but good experiences.
The only celebrity I've ever met, and it was very brief, was the lead singer of Blue October.
Oh, wait, no, yeah. I mean, I met Seether. Like, I went to a Seether concert and I met the band. But that was
a Seether concert too. It was actually really fun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, they are incredible. Like, they were really awesome, and they were so nice. So I should rephrase that, because they were great. They were super nice to meet in person. Very chill.
Yeah, the irony of Melisandre thinking she's resurrecting Azor Ahai, but she's doing the opposite. Yeah, I mean, that's her, Rhaegar, like, they are like the living, breathing embodiments of tragic irony, dramatic irony.
That's why, I mean, like, she sees that vision of Bloodraven and Bran. I mean, these are probably visions coming from Bloodraven, to be honest. And, like, him showing her snow is probably like, yeah, that's the one.
Oh, to go west, you must go east. Lisa's asking about that. Do you think that means that if you go far enough east, you get west, like they're connected? And I have talked about that before, like the Grey Waste, all of that is really fucking interesting to me. And, you know, definitely implies that at least at one time that was true, that you could get to the west, like it was connected, basically. I don't know if that's...
It would definitely make sense, because we need Daenerys to get to Westeros a little bit quickly after she's done with everything in Volantis and Marine. So it would make sense if there was an easier way for her to get there.
But what I actually think that to go east, you must go west, or to go west, you must first go east, is actually saying is that she has to wrap up Vaes Dothrak, her stallion who mounts the world, like because that's what tells her, like that's what makes her realize that she has to go with the Dothraki. To go forward, I must go back. To go east, I must go west. Or you know what I'm saying. To go west, I must go east. I think it's referring. These are like reminders to her that there are things she has to do before she can get to the other things she's trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I think that in the beginning, George had planned for Dany to go to Asshai. I think that was in the plan, and now he's had to abandon that because there's just too much happening with her story. Like, when you look at what she's doing compared to what every other character, even Jon, is doing, what she's doing is astronomically larger. Which is why it's always so funny to me when people are like, Jon is uniting everybody. No, he got murdered. He has not successfully united shit.
Yeah.
The wall, the people on the other side of the wall were united because of Mance. And meanwhile, you have Dany over here who's like trying to get former slaves and fucking slave masters to all coexist, and like just all of these things. Like, she's combining Dothraki, she's bringing all these huge swaths of people together.
Also, I think it's because people always want to talk about, the honeyed locust. I just want to point out that Daenerys inspires a lot more loyalty in the people who are surrounding her, even though there's something to be said for Jorah and stuff like that. But even then, Jorah ended up taking her side when he originally had not planned to. Whereas Jon, he had men conspiring against him very early on. Look at Robb. Robb's situation, he had men conspiring against him. And while, yes, there was an attempt on Daenerys' life, those weren't really her people. Her people are loyal to her, which is the reason why she is still here.
Jon was murdered by his own men.
And Daenerys was saved by her own man. I mean, unintentionally, yes, but still at the same time, there is this loyalty that Daenerys inspires that Jon and Robb did not inspire.
Yeah, I agree.
At the moment where things started getting complicated, that's the moment where Roose Bolton said, okay, I'm checking out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't see how he's going to wrap up. Just Dany's story alone could be 2 more books. Like, even taking out all the other fucking plot lines and POVs, like, just her story could be 2 books. Like,
I think he probably intended her story to end in Winds of Winter, but now it's probably gotten to the point where it's definitely going to go into A Dream of Spring because there's just no way.
Oh yeah. No,
he can't wrap her entire story up in one, even though he's saying this is the longest book in the series by far, it's still not going to be enough.
No, Winds of Winter will get her to Westeros, and that is where her story will end in Winds of Winter. She has so much shit she has to do in Essos. Mm-hmm. So much. Isn't it in the world of Ice and Fire that Essos and Westeros were connected and got disconnected? Yeah, that's the lore. Is that the Rhoynar, I think. Was it the Rhoynar? Or the Children of the Forest? Someone broke the
so there was...
bridge.
Yeah.
I think it was the Children of the Forest, but it like happened too late or something.
Yeah, that's what created the Stepstones.
A great counsel. I think that the one who was probably most likely capable of it was Renly, but also at the same time, I think that Robb would have been convinced quicker by Catelyn. But Renly definitely would have been the more inspiring one because Renly inspired loyalty in a way that even Robert couldn't. I think that, ironically enough, it was Renly who really, out of the 3, he was the most capable of being a good ruler. Unfortunately for Renly, he was not a king who could have been a good leader during the long night. Because Renly was a king who was meant for peacetime, not for hard times. So I think that he would have been a great king, but not for any sort of complicated season. I think he would have just been a peacetime king. But I do not think that Stannis in any way, in any realm, was capable of leadership at all. So I don't care.
Renly's interesting to me because all of those people supported him because they wanted to. It even it undermined, all of these standards and whatnot. But they preferred him. They chose him.
He was inspiring and Stannis was not. And it wasn't just about the fact that Stannis has the personality of a wet paper towel. It's the fact that Stannis would have encouraged divide, and it would have been very, very controversial because if you were the reason why Stannis stubbed his toe when he was 10 years old, he was going to remember that and make you suffer for it.
It's true. It's fucking true. Justice. You have to lose your toe.
Yeah, so, for me, Renly, even what he said to Catelyn, okay, your son can still call himself king in the north, but he's still my man. And if we can make that work, if we can come to that agreement, we're going to be fine. Renly was determined to make sure that the realm was at peace and that justice was dealt to the Lannisters. He was the most suitable one to rule. He just was.
I don't care for the Baratheons as a whole.
No, absolutely not.
And especially the 3 I feel like I have completely slept on Renly, a little bit because he is a Baratheon. I kind of always just was whatever, Renly. But when you're putting it in the context of okay, the 3 of them specifically, obviously Renly is the superior Baratheon. I just never gave it much thought because
Renly isn't assaulting anyone like Robert. He isn't beating anyone.
He made a rainbow guard. He just wants things to be pretty and peaceful. He wants what Dany wants, which is a kingdom full of people who wave when he goes by, and fat men and pretty women. Everyone's happy and healthy and well-fed. That's what Renly wants.
I really think, I think that's what Renly, that's why I say he would have been a great peacetime king because he just wanted the realm to be prosperous and healthy, and he didn't want there to be any problems. So, and I think that it's just a shame the way he was taken out so quickly. And and people are always like, oh, Stannis feels sorry afterwards. Yes, he does. But also at the same time, he meant it.
He feels like shame and guilt because now he is a kinslayer, but he would do it again. Yes. It was the only way he was going to defeat Renly because of everything that we just said. He was well loved. He inspired loyalty. Stannis can't do that. Like, he tries and he can't. Doesn't even really try, I guess. He's pretty try. Fuck.
I mean, like, the whole spectacle of what happened on Dragonstone really got him a lot of supporters.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Lots. I mean, Stannis is literally an atheist who was willing to set aside his own feelings about religion.
As long as it meant he was special.
As he said to Davos, he looks at Davos and he says, she inspires fear. And that's the only thing, that's the only way I'm going to get people to listen to me is to scare them.
So see, it's funny because, you know, Dany in the show was like, let it be fear, but that's actually fucking Stannis.
It's Stannis! And not like, I will never understand it. And like when Courtney Penrose looks at him and he challenges Stannis, and Stannis, I'm sorry, is a coward. Everybody's like, oh, he couldn't risk himself. No, he was just a coward. It's like Sir Courtney said, are you afraid that I'm going to piss on your burning sword? And, I mean, that's what it is.
God, I love that.
And it's because Sir Courtney knows what we all know. That is not
Lightbringer.
Like, that is not Lightbringer.
It's not fucking Lightbringer.
That is just a sword on fire. It means absolutely nothing. Sir Courtney was going to beat his ass and then pee on it and then be done.
I love that bit between Davos and Salador when he's like, Salador calls it a burnt sword, and Davos is like, a burning sword, and he's like, a burnt sword, bitch. I said what I said.
Yes, like Salador's son in the show.
Love him.
Salador's son in the show is nothing. He's like freaking, I mean,
he tells a dumb joke.
Just like Euron, they turn him into a sex pirate, and that's the
For
only
real, Value Village sex pirates.
But Salador in the books is like the epitome of wisdom. Like he's giving it to Davos and Stannis. Davos understands the truth. He just doesn't want to admit it to himself. Whereas Salador is like, hey, this is the truth, and I'm putting it out there for you, my friend, because I know you know the truth. So, like, get on board with me. Your boy Stannis is full
I love how you said I love how you said my friend, because, like, you were in character. That's totally how we talk, Salador.
He is honestly one of my very favorite non-POV characters.
Absolutely agree.
He's not afraid of Stannis. He's like, I'm going to tell you because I know this to be true.
Is Salador hear me out? Because he's a pirate?
Honestly, whenever I think of Salador, though, he's really hot, so I couldn't.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. He's a pirate.
I always think of like tall, dark, handsome with like a ton of jewels, and I'm like,
yeah, you're right. It's like oh god, now Zaro Zohan, but like
yes,
maybe he actually likes women.
Yes. See, whenever I think of Salador, I'm like, ooh.
Okay, them cutting Nettles out of House of the Dragon when Nettles and Dany kind of parallel feels like more Dany disrespect. For me, the issue with cutting out Nettles, I mean, again, though I treat these things like they're very separate canons, so I'm not particularly upset if House of the Dragon doesn't align with how I see things ending. Like, that doesn't really matter to me because it exists separately. Sorry, I'm making coffee, it's loud. But the bigger issue for me is Nettles exists as like this example of like the proper way to bond with a dragon. It's not about a fucking forced blood bond. It's like you form a relationship with a dragon or they kill you. Like, that's how it is.
Yeah.
And that should be the only way that you bond with a dragon.
And I also think that the show is going to end with Aegon II and Jaehaera on the throne. I don't think we're going to see anything happen after that, because once Rhaenyra and Alicent are, once Rhaenyra is gone and out of the story, it no longer becomes about the two of them. So I think for the show's purpose, it's going to end after that. I don't think we're going to see anything else happen. So I can understand why they didn't do anything with Nettles. and they're not going to include the dragon mourning because I don't think the show is going to get that far.
Go that far.
Somebody said that they couldn't believe that George is going to have Stannis burn Shireen.
I'm sorry.
He said that it's always been his intention for Stannis to do this. And I think that's very important because we are going to see Stannis make another sacrifice, but this time he is going to have to come face to face with the reality that all of it was for nothing. Courtney Penrose was for nothing. Renly was for nothing. What happens to Shireen, his only child and daughter who loved, the only person in this world who loves Stannis or gives a damn about him, even though she shouldn't because he's a terrible father, is going to be the one person that he burns. And that's going to be the moment where he realizes, oh, I'm not Azor Ahai. I'm not the prince that was promised. I'm nothing. I'm nobody. And
so
all of it was for nothing.
Stannis already told us that he's going to. He says, what is the life of one child? And then he tells Davos, a sacrifice isn't a sacrifice unless it hurts. Unless it costs you something. He tells Davos that. And then you have Davos reflecting on how he could never be a hero because he could not kill his wife.
Yep.
Stannis doesn't love his wife. That's not a sacrifice. He loves his daughter. His daughter is going to be, in his mind, the greatest sacrifice he could make, and it is his duty to do it.
And I got
about 4 more minutes, guys.
Sorry, go ahead, Taryn.
I got 4 more minutes.
I think that the biggest thing with that, too, is that when Melisandre no longer thinks that Stannis is the one, I think that this is going to be very triggering for him because he's done all of these things and he's sacrificed so much only to have her move to the Jon train. And that's going to be for him unacceptable. But then he's going to think, well, I sacrificed these gods, like I burned these statues of these gods that don't mean anything to me. So I've got to sacrifice something that actually means something to me. And since Shireen is the only person in this world who means anything to him, that's obviously going to be his niece Anissa. So it all ties in very well. And I think that Stannis being a non-POV character, a lot of people are going to be disappointed. The people who like him, I think that after he burns Shireen, he's going to kind of lose it and walk into the fire himself. Like, I don't think that Stannis' story has a whole lot of time left. Davos' story is going to disconnect from Stannis. It already has. I don't think that Stannis and Davos are going to reunite.
I would love to see Stannis as a white.
Ooh.
I want to see him reanimated. Like how Varamir sees Thistle. I want, like, Davos to see fucking white version of Stannis or something like that, like, after he dies.
I love that so much. It honestly makes a lot more sense than what the show did with Brienne, like taking him out off camera.
So
which is
just goofy. Do you think Aaron Waters is working for someone else or just for himself? I think he's out for himself, but he's taken those ships somewhere. He's got a plan. He's going somewhere.
He's definitely out for himself. I don't think he was ever for Stannis or for Cersei or for anybody but himself, but he does have a plan.
I mean, I think maybe he could show up with Aegon. I think that would be a logical...
I actually like that idea a lot. Like I said, I think that the 6th Blackfire Rebellion is going to be the one that is the most complicated because it has to be. This is the final face-off between the actual Bloodstone Emperor and the Amethyst Empress. So it has to be the worst one. And that's where Dany has to, as the slayer of lies and breaker of chains, all of that fun stuff, has to be the one to end this endless cycle of history just repeating itself. So it obviously has to be the worst situation.
Does Stannis really believe he's Azor Ahai? Because it feels like he doesn't believe it himself. I don't think he does, but it doesn't matter because he believes that he is special.
Yeah.
And if you want to frame that as him being Azor Ahai, if you want to frame that as him being the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, however you want to frame it, Stannis is the Manus, so to speak, in his mind. And he's the only one. I do think that he believes he's the only one who can, like, save the world or, like, save the Seven Kingdoms.
I don't even know if he believes in the White Walkers themselves. I think Stannis' main goal is to get on the throne, and that's what he really cares about. And he's just going along with this show of Melisandre's because he feels like, oh, well, she's backing me up, so I'm just going to go with it. But I think at one point, like I said, when Melisandre jumps on the Jon train, that's going to be the moment where he's like, oh, well, maybe it is real and I need to do this to make it happen so she'll think I'm special again.
You mean after Jon's resurrected?
Yes.
Yeah, because he's not there right now.
That's going to be very triggering for Stannis because he's going to be like, I did all of these things for you, and now you're abandoning me for this boy?
This bastard.
No, I'm special. It's me.
It's mine.
Guys, I love you. I gotta go.
Bye. I'm gonna need to go soon too. I'm still reading the books, and I wish they included Patch Phase. Me too, man. I think, speaking of burning Shireen, I do think that it's going to backfire in a big way. I don't know if that means like a grayscale outbreak. I feel like it would be weird to have mentioned that in the story and not have something come of it, right? Whether it's with Shireen or with Jon Con.
Well, Val being so afraid of it and being so afraid of Shireen, and then also Patchface, there's something like Shireen is his whole world.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's going to lose it.
That is the only person that is keeping Patchface grounded at all and keeping him from just completely falling
watch him turn into a fucking kraken or something, because like really the drowned god.
I want him to be the great stone beast. I want it to be something.
It's like that scene in The Little Mermaid when she switches from Vanessa to Ursula. That's gonna be how it happens.
I want that to happen, and I want to finally understand the riddles that he's been speaking in this whole time.
Will Fagon or Dany deal with Euron and his fleet? You know, that's a good question.
I don't think that young Griff is going to get involved in any of that. I don't know how that situation is going to come to fruition. I do very strongly believe that Sam is going to be the one to take Euron out. I think it's all going to end with Sam and Euron as like the finale.
Okay, so Sam is going to be with Dany soon in the next book. Like, that's where he's headed. It's Maester Aemon's, dying wish. That's where he's going.
Every Frodo needs their Sam, and Dany is Frodo. So,
and it makes sense. So that leads me to believe, by this theory, then, that it's Sam that kills Euron. That it will be Sam and Dany versus Euron, because I think that Euron's going to be very successful in Old Town. I think Old Town is about to get booked. Thank God.
Yes.
And I think that Malaria Hightower, the Mad Maid, she's going to become like Euron's Tiger Bride.
Yeah. I think so. Do you still think that Euron will marry? Yeah, I think he will. In a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that. I don't marry, but like he's going to take her as his like.
In a way, in Euron's way, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like a salt wife kind of situation.
Yeah. Because like, and the reason why I hold that so like, that is it, is because. And maybe this is foolish of me because it's in the Forsaken chapter, which could ultimately, I mean, he could decide to drop it. It's, I think that would be foolish because that's such a fucking great chapter. But in the Forsaken chapter, he sees Euron on the Iron Throne as like his, Lovecraftian nightmare version of himself. And he has a shadow woman holding flame next to him. And I think that's the Mad Maid. And the flame is like the High Tower, which is the High Tower that the Stone Beast... blah, 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 blah.
Lisa, I obviously, my number one thing is always going to be Dario equals Euron, but I do think that it would be an incredible plot twist if Orion Waters and Dario were both working for Euron. And that's the sick twist.
But see, like, here's the thing with Waters, because I'm thinking of him in terms of like, he's not really, for me, he's not a character, but he's a means to a fleet, right? Euron doesn't need that.
No.
Young Griff will need that. Like, I feel very confident.
I'm very confident that that's going to be the way it goes, that he's going to hook up with Young Griff, and that's going to be like their thing that they have. And I really do. I don't think that anyone is ever going to get me off the Dario equals Euron train. Like, that's
Yeah, I'm with you. I like it. You've convinced me. I can't come up with any like evidence to the contrary, which is kind of all we have at this point. You know, I can't prove you wrong.
Tyrion's endgame, I honestly think that Tyrion is going to live, but I think that he's going to have to live without the one thing in this world that means the most to him, and that's his mouth.
Yeah, agreed.
And there's been so much foreshadowing, like a couple of characters at least. It started with
a whole list, Ashley. It's one of the things that I annotated this time. It's like a list. So many people, so many times tell him he's going to lose his tongue. So many times.
And it's
like even more, that happens more than Cersei being compared to Wildfire.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot.
So I think that Tyrion is going to live to the end, to the end. And I think he's going to have to live without the one thing that's the most important to him. So
it's going to be the silent lion of the rock or some shit, you know?
Yeah. So all alone, the last of his family, and like no one wants him because he's a literal monster, and like on the inside and the outside because he's been mutilated. Yeah.
Will the Faith rise against Dany for Griff? Absolutely. Will they go against? And because she's I guess he's a fucking Targaryen too. They don't like any of them, but a woman is definitely more threatening to the status quo, especially a woman with, right now, 3 dragons.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the Faith is going to want nothing to do with that. But it's too bad for them because Euron's going to take out their fucking central station.
Honestly, like Euron being the biggest villain, I really think he's a cartoonized villain. Like he's like,
he's the primary antagonist. The way that the throne is like the primary story. It's like a red herring. Like we're told from the beginning that the point is the Song of Ice and Fire, and the threat is the others. Like we know this. But people still get hung up on the throne and on Euron being like the big bad. Like he's going to cause a lot of shit, but he's not the big bad.
No, and I think that people need to remember that Euron's not even a POV character. So at the end of the day, Victarion's story is likely going to be far more important than Euron's, ironically enough. Like I don't
think Victarion's going to make it too much longer.
Listen, I don't know how or why, but I do think it is extremely interesting that during that time where he was with, I think it's Morocco, Makaro, the Red Priest. During that time, it was very similar to what happened with Daenerys and Miri, in that we don't know what is going on in that cabin, and he comes out a completely different person. I don't know what is I do think Victarion is going to die. I just don't know.
Damon, have you seen my videos about that? Like, I have this 2-part series deep dive on that. Like, that is, I will die on this fucking hill that Euron, as the Bloodstone Emperor, is going to accidentally, inadvertently, ironically, undo the lasting legacy of the Bloodstone Emperor. It's so hilarious. I need it. I need it. Inject it in my veins. Do you think Melisandre and Mary met during no, I don't think that they met. I think that the reason why we know that they both came from a Shy is so that we understand that they are functioning under similar guides for their magic, right? Mm-hmm. It establishes only death can pay for life, which is setting up Melisandre to sacrifice a baby the same way that Miri sacrificed a baby. They're mirrors.
Yep.
But no, I don't think they ever met. And I don't think you had asked earlier if, oh God, who was it? Juan, you had asked about someone else and Melisandre if I thought they had met in a Shy. But Quaithe. And no, I don't think they have. Because Melisandre seems very fucking detached from Essos and like everything that's happening in Essos.
I think she's been doing her own thing for quite a while. And I mean, Daenerys isn't even on her radar. So I don't think that she's...
So, down here, the Dornish plot is my Roman Empire. I need Aerion and Dany to be besties. I
honestly, especially if I'm sorry, Eric, if you're still in the chat. I am really strongly of the belief that Quentin is burnt bacon. Like, I just think that I think his goose got cooked, man. I think Rhaegal was defending his sister wife, and I think poor Quentin. I think poor Quentin was a casualty of that. But I don't see that Arianne being like, oh, I forgive you for being the reason why, because even though Daenerys is not at fault and she had nothing, she wasn't even there. Arianne's not going to see it that way.
Well, we don't know what version of the story is going to get spread, right? Because there are these stories being told about Dany. Like, there's probably going to be a version of the story that she fed Quentin to her dragons. Because they're telling people that she eats babies and bathes in their blood and does all these crazy things. Like, we don't know what version she'll get.
Even still, like, people also have to remember that everybody's still very fresh from what happened to Elia. So it's not like they're very friendly towards the Targaryens right now.
Yeah.
So she doesn't really have a reason to like. Do I want Arianne to hate Dany? No, I really think that they would get along very well. I think their personalities would mesh, but I don't think she's going to like her at all.
I think an added element is part of Arianne's plan, like her game right now, right, is young Griff. That's part of her plan. And I think that Dany could be presented as a threat to that.
Yeah.
Because the original plan was Griff going to Dany anyway. And they are going to meet. Like, the Mummer's dragon and the true dragon, like, they will meet.
I think the intention is going to be for them to get married, because like Varys and Illyrio are going to want to settle that very quickly, because they're going to want Aegon in charge and Dany not to threaten that. So that's going to move very fast. And then Daenerys is going to find out the truth, which is the reason why it's so important that Tyrion be a part of her story, so he can tell her the truth, so that like she can figure things out. I don't think she's going to believe Tyrion right away, because I mean, it's Tyrion.
But she'll have Barristan co-signing.
But she will figure it out fairly early on. But by then it will have been too late, because he will have already claimed Rhaegal. I hate claiming. Okay, he will have already bonded with Rhaegal, and that's going to present a huge problem.
Do you think any of the Baratheon brothers could have claimed a dragon? They are still part. I mean, after theoretically,
Renly for me, the only one, because a dragon knows pretty, like, I'm sorry, Robert Baratheon is all muscle, no brain.
But he'd just get a dragon like Vermithor.
Dany's a piece of crap. I could see Renly, like, if I had to put Renly with any dragon, I'd have to think about that for a little bit, because I feel like
Renly would need to be with, like, Sunfire or, like...
Yeah, Sunfire. I could even see Renly having a laying or a previously laying dragon, like a femme type dragon. Like, that's just not because Renly is gay. It has nothing to do with that. It really has to do with the fact that Renly is kind. At his core, he's just a kind and good person. I could see a dragon resonating with that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Sunfire. That's who I would see Renly on and with. I think Renly would take better care of Sunfire.
Yeah, I feel like that a dragon would
You cut out. There you go. Okay. What do you think Jon will come back as, like Catelyn or Beric? Neither. It's going to be unique. It's going to be a combination of Catelyn, Beric, and Varamir. Like, people skip Varamir. Varamir is the precedent for Jon as a warg of what happened when his physical body died. Like, yeah. And it's going to be a unique situation, because it's also going to parallel in some ways Drogo and Rhaego. Because it's for a baby. Only this baby is a baby of ice instead of a dragon baby of fire.
It's going to be like, I don't want to say that Jon is going to come back exactly like Lady Stoneheart. I think it's going to be more complicated than that. And he's certainly not going to be left to just sit there for too long. Like, it's going to be discovered pretty quickly. I think things are going to move really fast with that, because Mel isn't going to just want to leave him dead. But I think it's, I think he's going to be more similar to Lady Stoneheart certainly more similar to Lady Stoneheart than Beric. He's not going to come back kind or himself. He's going to come back pretty freaking pissed and vengeful.
He's not coming back to his body only as himself. He's coming back to his body as himself and Ghost as one. Because while he's sitting there dead, his physical body, his consciousness is merging with Ghost. That's what we see happen with Varamir Sixskins.
I'm sorry, there's something going on when he talks to Sam about dreaming of going down into the crypts. I am still very convinced in my bones that something is going to happen with that pool in the Godswood of Winterfell. Like something is going to happen with Jon and that. I don't know how it's going to go down or why, but I think that's something is going to come to fruition with that.
Oh yeah, him only remembering being Ghost and thinking that he was born a wolf. I'd love to see that. Or I also think it would be really cool, if not permanently, at least for like a single POV, we get Jon in Ghost, and that's how we witness his resurrection. Mm-hmm. So then it goes from Jon Ghost, Jost, if you will, watching to being zapped into the body, right?
Yeah.
And I hate to break it to you all, like, this does not bring me joy, but that means that Ghost's physical body will die. I'm sorry. It's a mirror. It's a mirror to Dany bringing Drogon to life, right? She dies to give him life. Ghost dies to give Jon life. It's a reversal.
Lord Commander, you're alive. Woof, woof, grr, bark.
Yeah, for real. Oh, God, don't. That's Thoros, are you my mother? That's a good one. That's a good line. Damn.
I honestly think that as far as like Jon coming back, I love the idea of the silent death, the human personification of an ice dragon, someone who cannot talk but brings death and destruction wherever they go in the most quiet possible way.
Jon is, mark my fucking words, Jon is going to be mute. And that's another list that I made in this list of annotations, is how many times that is referred to. Like, there's foreshadowing of him being the silent man in the shadows, right?
It also coincides with the Child of Three, because Dany with the red dragon, the black dragon, and the ice dragon.
Yeah. So I very much, I'm with Ashley that I think the ice dragon in A Song of Ice and Fire is going to be metaphorical. I don't think we'll see Jon actually waking.
There's so many comparisons to Jon and the ice dragon. He mentions them. This time I counted a total of 9 times throughout the books. Bran only talks about the ice dragon constellation 1 time. Jon mentions it 9 times in some way, shape, or form. He's also the only character who is compared to the cold pool in the Godswood of Winterfell. I just think that it is his destiny to be like, because he's more northern magic, and we know that ice dragons and Valyrian dragons are 2 totally separate things. And we also know that ice dragons are neither good nor evil per the original book that George wrote.
No, they're a primordial embodiment of ice. Like, everybody wants to make it good or evil. This is nature, bitch. It's both.
They are not, contrary to popular belief, they are not a part of the others. They are their own entity. They're their own thing. So I really do, but they are a part of Northern magic. So I really do think that because Jon is technically by blood a Targaryen, but who he is as a person is Stark, him becoming the ice dragon is the thing that makes the most sense.
I agree. Will Jon be physically different, maybe stronger or faster? I definitely think he'll have like wolfy instincts, like probably better hearing and like just a like wolf's intuition kind of shit. I think we'll see some of that, like very primal.
I would like to see some silver streaks in the hair, like
or like red eyes like Ghost, 1 red eye, like something like that. I would love for him to physically show the change too. Hold on, if you think Jon and Tyrion will be mute, do you think they'll both be dragon riders? No, I don't think either of them will be dragon riders. And if so, do you think Dany will also become mute? No, I don't.
Will Jon care about being a Stark if Beric can't remember? Honestly, I think that where Beric starts to lose more and more of himself is the fact that he's died so many times.
True.
I think the fact that Jon is only going to die and be resurrected once,
presumably,
different. But I also think that Jon's whole thing, I think that yes, he is going to be definitely more a part of the Northern magic. I don't think he's going to care about being a Targaryen or a Stark. I don't think he's going to care about either one of those things. The only thing that Jon is going to care about is getting revenge and getting the agency that he's been denied his entire life.
Yes, I was like, agency, that's the word I want to hear, agency.
He's going to want to take out the Boltons. He's going to want to, I think he's going to be really pissed at Melisandre because, he's going to be pissed at Ned. He's going to be pissed at, even though his, father is gone, he's going to be pissed at Rhaegar. He's going to be pissed at literally everyone who has to be about down and be an utter disappointment to him because he's been lied to his entire life. Every last bit of who he could have been has been stolen from him. So he's going to want to take all that agency back.
If Jon will fully embody the wolf, do you think Dany will fully embody the dragon? Yes, but not in the way that people then position that as when you say that.
I think ultimately, I've made a video on this before. I think ultimately Dany has to defeat the Black Dragon, being young Griff. She has to say,
hold on.
What?
Being pissy is not in Jon's nature.
Oh my God! Are we talking about the same Jon? Because Jon is nothing if not pissy. I mean, I will give it to you. Show Jon is nothing but whiny, but book Jon is pissed literally
about everything. He's mad about everything. He's emo and angsty about everything. He's like the emo boy of Westeros.
The only time Jon is not mad is when Satin is around, okay? Like, every other bit of the time, he's mad.
Yeah, Jon calling Marcella insipid, like, he's a little brat. Jon is a brat in his brain every opportunity he gets. Like, and that's why you like him. He's giving cunt all the time.
Listen, that's why I love Jon. Because
I understand that mad and pissy are not the same. Pissy is exactly how I would describe Jon.
Oh, yes. Yes. So yeah, that to me is exactly, but it's also the reason why I really enjoy Jon's character. I love I love that he's pissy. But
Jon Satin 2025, yeah, no shit.
But
and then Jon roasting Shireen, like he's such an asshole. Actually, Jon's totally a fucking asshole.
I think that Dany is meant to defeat the Black Dragon, young Griff. She's meant to save the Ice Dragon, Jon, from himself. And then she has to, by the end, face the Red Dragon. And that is facing her family history and what these people really did, what they were really like, and the mistakes and horrible things that all of that stuff that she hasn't had to deal with yet, she's going to have to face, is what I mean. That's what it means to look at the Red Dragon.
Yeah, and earlier, to go back to that question about, is Dany going to embrace the dragon? I mean, that's the trajectory she's currently on and being positioned for at the end of Dance, but it's not for Westeros, okay? She's going to fully embody the dragon to become the stallion who mounts the world, to kill the Khals, liberate the crones, all of that kind of stuff. Then she's going to go over to Volantis and fully unleash the dragon. But there's going to be consequences that she has to grapple with from that. Yeah, she's the full dragon. Dany going full dragon or mad queen or whatever the fuck you want to call that, that's going to happen in Volantis. And what I actually think is going to happen is that Dany is going to think, okay, I have this relationship with Drogon. She will have successfully gotten the Dothraki, become the Call of Calls, all that kind of stuff. She's going to be riding that high a little bit. She's going to feel like she can't be beat, right? And something is going to have to bring her back down. And it's going to be Rhaegal. And it is because when she brings all of those dragons to Volantis, she's going to realize that once she sets Viserion and Rhaegal loose without riders, they're going to do whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
And they're going to kill whoever they're going to kill because she's got them in battle mode, right? They are in battle mode. They're not seeing, oh, these are the innocent enslaved people and these are the slavers. They're like, oh, mom said fucking light it up. Guess we gotta light it up. And that's what she's going to have to reckon with. But it's going to be spread that she just unleashed her dragons, right? But what it's going to be is that a dragon is not a slave and she could not control Rhaegal and Viserion. Yeah, tell her we are waiting, tell her to come soon. Because there's also that aspect of it too, is that the Red Temple is there, and they very much believe that Dany is Azor Ahai. And so there will be like uprising of the people within Volantis when Dany comes to liberate.
Yeah.
So like that'll be a factor too. But like I very much think that this is going to be the time when Dany releases the dragon, goes full dragon, and then has to be like, this is what that means.
Yeah.
This is what it means to go full dragon.
I mean, obviously she doesn't know anything about the dance, not in the complexities of it. And she's not informed about her family history. And you just know that Viserys gave her a very watered down, just rosy version of everything. And Barristan hasn't had the chance to, or he doesn't seem to be able to bring himself to fully.
It's not that he can't. She tells him she's not ready. Yeah. Like, he's ready to tell her, and she says, is this something that I am prepared to hear right now? Because of everything else that's going on. And he says no, because he thinks that they have time. He doesn't think she's just going to fucking disappear on Drogon, right? Barristan is ready to tell her, and not once has he lied when she's asked a question. Like, he does not hide the fact that Aerys deserved his name. Like, he will not lie to Dany. He won't sugarcoat it.
But people always go back to, oh, she thinks about Maegor to give herself strength. Well, one, she was in a dire situation in that moment. And two, I truly believe that Viserys gave her a rosy version of...
How much do you think she actually fucking knows about Maegor Targaryen? She doesn't know shit about Maegor Targaryen. Except that he was...
It is so important. That's why it's so important that by the end, she has to face the Red Dragon and come to terms with what they did.
And you know what that is? That's letting Viserion go. That's letting Viserion go. You're letting go of the dragon. You're freeing the dragon.
I think that's going to be it. When she does have to face her family history, that's going to be the final trigger for her. Okay, like this has to be done. Because, I mean, we have to think the dance 2.0 has to happen because she has to learn a very similar lesson that they had to learn. And that, I mean, you can't do that. And dragons are not slaves. And
she has to understand like the dangers of the blood bond. That, like, for example, young Griff is able to bond with a dragon simply because he has the blood to do it. Like, she needs to see how problematic that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, all she knows is the name invokes power. Like, it makes her feel safe.
But also,
it makes her feel like she can...
I really think that people, they negate the part that Dany is going through so much in these moments, and these are the only things that are giving her the confidence to move forward, is thinking about these people who she feels were great. And, I mean, if that's what she has to do as a child to make it through difficult times, then... I mean,
both her and Jon have to realize, and going back to Jon, post-resurrection, his story is going to be about agency. It's going to be about defining himself on his own terms. And that's what Dany has to start doing, because she's relying too heavily on Targaryens. And that she doesn't know this yet, but that does not align with who she is. Not really. And what both her and Jon have to realize is that they decide who they are. They do. Yeah. Stark, Targaryen, it doesn't fucking matter. Who are you? Because this whole story is about identity. Mm-hmm. And about how the identities that society forces on us destroy us. That is what this fucking story is about. And how you have to be brave and you have to overcome scary things and traumatic things in order to find who you are.
Haley, I think that she will bring all three of the dragons to Westeros. I think that after the Dance 2.0 between young Griff and Rhaegal and herself and Drogon, that's when she's going to send Viserion away.
Yeah, I just don't think that Viserion will be involved in the long night. I really don't.
I don't know where Viserion will be when this battle happens, but I do not believe she will be involved in the dance.
Oh my god, what if she oh my god, shut up. Because Rhaegal would be the one to die. So it's like this parallel of Silverwing and Vermithor, when Silverwing just circles and circles and circles and then lands and like cuddles up to Vermithor. So maybe Dany doesn't even send her away, she just goes away because she has a broken heart. That's what Silverwing did. And I very much see Silverwing and Viserion and Rhaegal and Vermithor as like this.
I really hate that. I really hate that.
Girl, all I know how to do is tragic shit. I don't know how to wrap up a story that is not going to like gut me. I don't know how else to do it.
I do still think it's very important, though, that Dany be the one to tell her to go, but kind of like mirroring what Arya did with Nymeria, because she's going to realize like that you need to get out of here for your safety. I need you to leave because I don't want anyone to use you the way you're.
Imagine Daenerys having to watch that, having to watch Viserion land and like nudge a dead Rhaegal. Like, imagine her having to watch that.
I'm actually, I'm getting depressed.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
But I'm like you. I need it to hurt. Because if it doesn't hurt,
That's why you liked Hermione. Because if it doesn't hurt, you don't want it.
I need to feel like Secrets and Masks and Manacled being my favorite Hermione says something about me. Because Secrets and Masks is like Manacled, except for Secrets and Masks is actually worse. The way it ends is just because not only do you lose Draco and Hermione, but you also lose the dragon. So you're just like, I'm gonna go die now. I'm gonna go die now.
Is that where you think the fire for death happens? So yes, I have a video on this that I do think the fire for death could be referring to Volantis. However, in this reread, I think it could also be referring to the pyres that Dany has to light for all of her people who die from the plague. Because like it's this whole big thing, like her advisors tell her not to go out there, the Dothraki tell her not to touch dead people, blah 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 blah, but she does it anyway because it's like you need to get rid of these sick bodies. And like it's like a big to-do of how like greasy and gross like the smoke is and like all this stuff. I think that could also be the fire for death.
Yeah.
Because I think that prophecies that she gets from like different places, they overlap. So like, yeah, I think that the fact that Quaithe was like, beware the pale mare and then a fire for death, like I think that those two things could be related because I think there's a lot of overlap.
Damon said, can't you see I don't want you anymore? Like, stop it right now.
Okay, hold on, I'm going through oh gosh, I'm sorry guys, I wasn't reading these comments. They're like, shut up.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, y'all. For me, if A Song of Ice and Fire isn't at least partially tragic, it's not going to be good. It's not going to hit the way it's supposed to. I don't want to accept it either, but I think the more irony is that just completely separates the show from the books is that Viserion is the first one to die in the show, whereas I think that she's the only one who will live at the end of the books, because I don't feel like Drogon is going to be able to go on without Dany. I feel like they have to go on together.
They're one. Like she brought him to life. Like they're one.
So I think as with Rhaenys and Meleys, you can't have one without the other. They're going to die together.
Jon starts with an identity crisis. Dany ends with an identity crisis. I don't think it's a crisis. Like she's not going to have an identity crisis. I mean, I feel like she's already having an identity crisis though, because it's between being, Misa or being the mother of dragons. So she thinks, dragons don't plant trees, all that kind of shit. She's already having an identity crisis.
Well, I agree, Em. Like, A Song of Ice and Fire is the most beautiful in its tragic moments. And I feel like the tragic moments are the moments that hit the hardest. And I just, I think that George was not lying to us. He was telling no lies. It will be very bittersweet. We'll be miserable, but we'll also be happy. You're going to suffer, but you're going to be happy about it.
Oh, can't you see I don't want you anymore? Stop it. Yeah. Boo. I feel like people really sleep on, I'd like to see, maybe I'll do it. I'd like to see more analysis of Arya and Nymeria because, people get hung up on the show as usual in this fandom. But their relationship is so fucking interesting in the book because it spans continents. They are still connected.
Oh, Eric.
Continents way.
Eric, I can't, like, I mean, I love, like, the enthusiasm with the lemons. And I mean, I do think that there's probably something that's going to come of it. But at the end of the day, I think the irony is that Dany being Aerys's daughter and being his polar opposite, while Cersei is not biologically related to him, but she is, they're one and the same. I think that goes into play of Targaryen madness has always been the illusion. And that's not, I mean, yes, you're going to have some mad people in families. That's just how families, like, there's going to be some crazies in the family.
Cersei literally exists to undermine that propaganda. It is power that corrupts. It is power that is the issue. It's not like whether you're a Targaryen, a Lannister can be just as fucking insane as a Targaryen.
I mean, I think that also we're looking at the Baratheons as an example, because I do believe that Stannis is going crazy. I mean, it's set in. The madness has set in because people are always like, Asha sees his face on the march to Winterfell and sees that he's determined. Do you not realize that she's not complimenting him? She's saying that he's a madman, that this man is marching to his bitter end. His men are dying all around him. The horses are dying all around him. He doesn't care. He keeps going. That's not a compliment. Asha is saying in that moment that he's crazy.
Yeah. People never talk about. I feel like a lot of people forget that they even interact.
Yeah, I mean, they always say that like it's a compliment. Like Asha's like, yeah, he's determined. I don't like him, but he's determined. No, she's saying that he's crazy.
Ooh, I like that too. The irony that the Mad King dies trying to burn King's Landing, but Dany saves it, but it's already burnt. Like, she arrives too late, and Cersei and fucking Jon Con have completed it. Yes, royalty and exceptionalism is the madness. And that is what Dany has to let go of.
That's the entire point of George's story, is that the monarchy, these things just, they don't work. Because even with good leaders, you have, like, there's too many complicated feelings going on, too much complexities to all of the leaders surrounding them. It's never going to work the way it's supposed to. There's always going to be problems later on down the road. And even if Daenerys and Jon got married, had many, many babies and lived happily ever after, you have to remember that at some point in time, there's going to be a problematic ruler in their line somewhere. It may be their great, 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 great grandson, but there's going to be a problematic ruler at some point in time later on down the line. The monarchy does not work. It doesn't work.
Yeah, the Targaryen exceptionalism is a really big thing too. Like, it is not and never has been the Targaryens who were exceptional. It is the dragons that are exceptional. Yeah. Like,
the only exceptional Targaryen is Daenerys. So,
yeah, I mean, Targaryens should have been matriarchy. That they would have lasted longer. It still, it still would have been shit, but because monarchy and all the criticisms.
Yeah, Visenya, and then Rhaena, and then Rhaenys, and obviously it wouldn't have been Rhaenyra because Rhaenyra wouldn't have been in line had it been Rhaenys. But then it would have been Laena, and then so on and so forth. Like, you have to think the Blackfyre rebellions never would have happened had Dana been given the throne, which was rightfully hers. People always want to praise Viserys II, and it's like, no, he's not praisable because he literally stole the throne from his niece. And not only that, but his mother was Rhaenyra. So it's not like he didn't know better.
Right.
I mean, he knew that that throne rightfully belonged to Dana, and yet he still took it from her, knowing everything that he knew about his mother. That in and of itself is the reason why I so strongly believe that the Targaryens deserved the Blackfyre rebellions. They were their karma.
Okay, so there's one question in the chat that I want to talk about, and then I really got to go because I need to start working.
Yeah.
I just don't see how the story could end without the cycles repeating, especially if Dany dies. Because what is essential to maintaining the balance is not eradication of the others or eradication of the dragons. You need both.
Yeah.
And like, so the dragons and the others have actually a lot in common. Primarily the fact that their reproduction is reliant on humans. When did that happen? Why did that happen? Like, it is because humans wanted to control the primordial forces of fire and ice. Mm-hmm. So you have to like eliminate that control.
it's human interference. Humans are the problem. And so how you maintain that balance is you make whatever agreement needs to be made with the others. There's some sort of agreement about reproduction, all that kind of shit. There's a sacrifice, some shit that needs to be done with the others. And it's the same with the dragons. And the only way that Viserion will ever really be free is after Dany's death.
And one final thought, somebody asked opinion on Jaehaerys. I feel like we've already kind of like done this many times, but Jaehaerys was his own worst enemy. Like, he literally was the death and destruction of his own family, and he set them up for failure. I mean, he had an opportunity to make things better and to change things, and instead he made it worse. And he's the reason why the dance ultimately ends up happening, and they become their own destruction. So,
okay, all right. Dope sick Nick. I'm not surprised that I lost people with that. But if you actually care about what I'm talking about with magical equilibrium and the dragons, I have a playlist called Fire and Ice Equilibrium that you can watch, and I have recent videos about Viserion and how she breaks that cycle at the end.
And also to defeat
the Iron Throne is definitely going to be destroyed.
I don't think you can defeat the others. I don't think that's how that works. And it's not the point. The whole point is a balance, not one side or the other winning.
Or worse yet, getting rid of both. I love that. That there are people who read this story and think that the solution is to eradicate the primordial forces of life. Like, as if you could. That is the most arrogant, human-centered fucking take I've ever heard in my life. I hate it. I fucking hate it. But
also, Alex. Okay, yeah. Alrighty.
That doesn't mean you gotta go.
No. I think I need to get going because I've got a ton of stuff to do. But guys, this was actually really fun. And as for the second Fire and Blood book, I'm hoping that we get the Blackfire Rebellions and we get to learn more about all the things that we learned a little bit about in World of Ice and Fire. But thanks you guys so much for joining, and we will see you all next Monday.
Bye, guys.